Hello, incremental greetings. Welcome to the Pleasurable Learning Podcast. Today will be the first ever episode, and just to let you know, what we do is interviews with students or people, common people, and we will talk about their experience with the school system, how they felt, what they lived, their anecdotes, and so on. Today, from the first episode, our guest is Alp Kaan, which he will introduce himself.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Alp from Turkey, Alp Kaan. This is how my name is pronounced. I'm a high school student, last year high school student from Turkey. I will be finishing school this year, and I'm going to talk about my schooling experience until now. And this is just my experience. Just keep this in mind. We are not spitting facts here. We're talking about experiences. So anything I say is objective. So keep this in mind while you're listening. And yeah, I hope you like my experience and find it interesting.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your background, what you study, and so on?
Yeah, so right now I go to German high school. This is an important fact to mention. But I went to primary school and middle school in the Turkish system. So I had everything in the Turkish system, in a Turkish school. And when I went to high school, I first learned German for a year, the preparatory class, and then I started to have all my lessons in German. So this is my background pretty much. Next year I'm going to be but now isn't, so I'm preparing final exams. So I think this is my educational background to now.
Okay, so you're about to finish high school.
Yeah, almost like in a few months. In next month I will be finished with the final exams, and in 2 to 3 months I will have finished the school itself. Yeah.
Okay, you are close to freedom, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us what you like or what you dislike about the school? And you can divide this into German school system and the Turkish system if you want to.
Yeah, okay. So there comes a few things. There come a few things to mind when you ask me that question. Positive things like that feeling when you're at school and the topic really interests you and you learn it with your friends. I think this is a positive feeling, but we could also say it's not only related to school, but it's that thing about learning. Like when learning something you like, you feel good. I think this is a feeling I like about school. And then what I dislike about school, you have to go to school every day, and they don't ask you if you want to learn something or not. They just try to teach you, and most of the time, the attempts are not that successful. And
So you mean,
what else?
yeah, to say this in different words, you're referring to the curriculum.
Yeah, curriculum. The curriculum is one of the worst things at school, in my opinion, because no one can know what you're going to want to learn at what time. So school just decides for you, and you have no right to decide for yourself. And I think this is not a good thing. But you said I can divide my the good and bad aspects to German and Turkish schooling system. And I think come from a Turkish schooling background and having had multiple choice questions for all of my life until I switched to German school, I think having having your exams written or writing is a good thing, and this is one thing I like about the German school. You don't just circle on some options, you really write something. And in German and English lessons, for example, in English and German classes, you really have the opportunity to think and express your ideas, and I think this is something I like. But then again, when we come to expressing ideas in German schooling system and any other schooling system, pretty much, probably, yeah.
So
I think the
yeah,
problem is, yeah, I will add one thing.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
So at school, I like discussing about some topics and having arguments about some topics so that we can come to a conclusion or even not just discussing with somebody, exchanging opinions. And at school, this discussion environment is not that optimal. Like you want to say something, you raise your hand, and teachers let you say something, and then the next person says maybe something against what you said. You want to defend your side,
Yeah.
but you could raise your hand, but you should wait at least 5 minutes until you can join the discussion again. So it's not genuine discussion.
Oh, so
It's just
those
fake.
5 minutes is a rule, or it's
No,
an
like
unwritten
it's
rule?
like no, it's not a rule, but like there are other people who are raising their hands and
Ah,
they
okay.
want to say something as well. So you have to wait before you can contribute to the discussion again. And until that time comes, most of the time the topic is something else. So you don't even have you don't even have the opportunity to what you were thinking before. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is true
It's
in the German system or in the Turkish system or both.
This this was in
In any,
any
okay.
system, because when you're at class, you know that as well. I think when you're at class, you don't just stand up and speak or just say what you want. You have to wait for permission of the teacher. And this is, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but this is something I just dislike, because you can't discuss with your classmates for real. It's just made up discussions controlled by the teacher.
Yeah,
This is what I.
and how big are the classroom? How many students are in one classroom?
We are 26 right now.
26. Oh, it's fairly low to make debates and so on. Okay. And you said about multiple choice questions
Mm-hmm.
that the German
Yeah.
system is always written. It's prose.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we can elaborate a little on that. So, are you familiar with the expression of semantic learning and asymmetric learning?
I think you can explain it here also for the listeners who don't know it. So,
Okay, so by asymmetric learning is when you learn but you don't make any connection, you don't have the big picture, you just memorize facts, but you understand, comprehend the whole aspect. And with multiple choice questions, depending on how it's done, it's very prone on this kind of learning. You learn how to answer those questions. You don't learn how to cover the topic. If it's
yeah.
language, any field on science, and so on. So did you felt a difference with the German system where you don't have multiple choice questions? Do you think the learning was more semantic?
I think so, because I remember the times when I used to have multiple choice questions, and what you do then is you have maybe 100 questions and you speed solve them. You just read them in circle. And as I said, sometimes you could just look at the options you have and choose one of them without understanding the questions, just that way. And especially in language classes, I even had a language exam, English exam, in my high school entrance exam. In Turkey, we also have a high school entrance exam. You can't just go to the high school you want. You have to take an exam before going. So I had an English exam, and it was multiple choice. So there were some fill in the blanks type of questions or reading and other questions about the text. And I don't think it's effective. And you can answer those questions, but still not be able to talk or write. And I actually learned to write some texts, proper text in English at my current school. I learned it from German teachers. Before then, I have never written a text in English, a proper text in English. It was just sentences thrown all over the
Ah,
place. Yeah.
so in the school system you never cover it to do writing, an essay or something like that.
No, not really, not really.
Okay, it's fill the gaps and so on. That
Yeah,
you get proficient on solving those kind of problems, but you don't get
yeah,
proficient on the language.
yeah. Most of the
It's
time.
this case. Okay.
I think we can't generalize it, because there are some schools that are private, and there are also public schools. But most of the schools is like what I told. But there are, of course, some private schools that teach English, real English, like speaking, writing, listening, and so on. So yeah.
Uh, just to ask you, in the Turkish school system, was public those schools you went to?
Uh, I went to a public school,
Yeah.
one private school, and then yeah, and now I'm in a public school, but the thing is a bit different because I explained it's a German school, so half of my teachers are German, so it's different. But in Turkey, I went to a public school for the first 4 years of my education, and the second 4 years was in a private school, and I can tell the difference is clear,
Yeah.
and also
Like
in
so.
English.
What? Go ahead.
Like the environment, school environment, even the hygiene in school is different. The teacher's attitude is different, and how much they want to help you is different because you give money, so they're willing to do something for you then. And yeah, the difference is real. And also, you can spot this difference even statistically by I said there are some high schools you have to take an exam to get into high school, and there's high schools with really high rankings in Turkey, so you have to maybe you have the right to answer one multiple choice questions wrong or just two or three. This can be the situation, and if you look at the statistics, the people in the better schools, the one you have to be really successful in the exam, or what's success, but you have to score really high on the exam. In those schools, most of students come from private schools, and my school is one of them. My school is actually the first one in the list this
Wow.
year. In my time, it was second, but now it's first. So you have to um, like yeah, you have to be one of the first people. Like you have to answer a lot of questions correctly, and I had just one wrong answer in my exam. So and I can say like in our class from 26 people, only one of them comes from a public school. So this is how messed up the system is. Like if you go to a public school, the quality is different. You won't score good in exam, and I don't think private middle schools in Turkey are better than public schools in terms of education, but they're better at getting you where you want to go. So I also think that for high school, but this is always there are some aspects that you have in a private school and you don't have in public school. So yeah, this is one of the differences because in middle school you just want to go to the high school. There's nothing else. You don't try to learn something. You try to go into high school. So
That's
this is
yeah. Sorry for interrupting. That's a good point. So in middle
mhm,
school, you don't focus on learning, actually learning. You
yeah,
focus on get a higher score to get to a good
high school.
reputation high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And we can also say like in high school, is it different high school? Is it different in high school? It's not, in my opinion. In high school, you just go to school to go in to get into a high reputation university, reputation university. So it's always the same. But at least I can tell I learned some more in high school than I learned in middle school. This one this one I can say. Yeah.
Okay. So will you rate the overall experience at the school? Will you rate it as positive or as negative?
This is
Or
a
in the same question is, if you will go back in time, will you do exactly the same you did?
so this is these two are a bit a bit hard to answer. But when I look back, there are positive things and negative things about school. I told some of them to you, but school, I would rate it neutral because it's really hard to say if it's positive or negative. It's hard to decide. I also think the negative sides are maybe a bit more like it's neutral because it school doesn't harm you, but it also doesn't help you. But the problem comes in when you think, okay, you have 12 years of schooling until university for primary, middle, and high school in Turkey, and at the end of this 12 years, you don't really much. So if we look at that from that point of view, I think school is negative because, as I said, it's neutral in terms of just in its essence, it's neutral because it doesn't harm you. It is also not useful. But if you think about the time put in and things you get out of school, I think it can even be negative because because you put a lot of time and you just get into a university at the end,
Yeah. So
and nothing to learn is
you mean
matter.
by it's not useful? You mean that it's ineffective time wise or effort wise?
Yeah, like what I mean is you go to school, you learn some things, like um, you can learn biology, for example, or physics or chemistry, and you learn these subjects on such a basic level that if you're not at school and out in the real world trying to do something, the knowledge you have of these subjects won't be enough for you to create something. And school just does that. For years, they teach you some not useful information, and at the end you just graduate and you learn nothing useful. This is what I mean. And you put in a lot of time and it's also not efficient. Yeah, this is
Okay.
what I mean.
So by useful now I understand more of its applicability of that knowledge.
Yeah, applicability is a
You
good
know,
word for
you
that.
learn a lot, but you cannot not apply this in your real life.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And it's also not time efficient, as you said it. Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask you something you said that it's really really relevant. So
Mm-hmm.
you said that the school doesn't harm you. Can you
Uh-huh.
elaborate on that?
Yeah.
I don't want to affect your answer, so I will prefer to give you the first.
Yeah, actually, I the first thought you have while talking about this kind of thing
Hmm.
is that school doesn't harm you, like it doesn't kill you. But if you look at it a bit more, I think yeah, school can harm you, especially in your learning habits. And I think I can name an example for that.
Hmm.
During middle school and primary school, I hated reading, even if it's something you can learn a lot from. And I hated books reading because of the mandatory readings you had to do at school. So this is just an example of how school could harm you. It could destroy your true, like it could teach you some learning habits that can make your learning ineffective in some cases. Yeah,
Okay. So you mean some sort of a toxic memory?
toxic memories.
So, for
Yeah, a
instance,
lot of
you
things.
build. Sorry, you build a dislike of learn of reading
Yeah, for
because
example.
you hate reading or you're coerced on reading something specifically in at the school. Do you mean it's
Yeah, yeah. For
okay?
example, this happens once, and maybe you don't feel that much different. But when it happens year after year,
Hmm.
you start hate reading. And I another example to that came to my mind. During middle school,
Hmm.
in our one of our English lessons, one of our classmates, actually a group of girls in my class, made fun of my pronunciation and my best friend's pronunciation.
Hmm.
So I rejected to speak English in class. I wouldn't speak English in class. It's just do the written things. But yeah, as I said, because
Hmm.
of the environment in class, my classmates
Hmm.
making fun of me, I stopped speaking English, and this leads to me just staying where I am, not getting better at English. And
Hmm.
this I solved in high school, but this was a problem for 2 years in middle school.
Two
And middle school is
years.
4 years, so half of the
Okay.
middle school. Yeah, this is just another example of what can happen.
So it's to say in a different words, it's the selective mutism. You didn't want it to talk. It's a different that you wouldn't be able to talk, and
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was also we can that's fear of speaking.
Yeah, kind of thing, but like it's fear of making some failures, like not being correct. This fear
Yeah, the
is
fear of not being
there.
correct
This
and
happened.
other making fun of you, other
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
and
What
those other
happened?
people were classmates, were not teachers.
Yeah, these are classmates.
Okay, and this happened in sorry in the German school system or in
No,
the
in
in Turkish
in middle school.
middle school. So in the Turkish school system.
Yeah, in a Turkish system. But this could happen also in German system. This is not related to the system. This is a thing about the students and the environment in class. And this could happen, I think, and also, but some things prevented it. So in our first year in high school, we had to learn German from scratch in a year, to the B1 level. So we all started at the same level. So there is no there is no case of that happening. Maybe this happened to some of the people, but some of my classmates this year told me that we have some teachers, not I won't call them with names, but
Yeah, please don't say any name.
some of our teachers ask a lot of questions when you just ask something or answer something or want to show your homework in the classroom. This can earn you some mark in some better notes in class, but for higher marks, especially for oral marks, you have to show your homework, for example. And some of my friends are afraid because when they show their homework, the teacher can ask a question, a deeper question that they are not able to answer. So they told me they are afraid of doing this, and they're afraid of asking what they didn't understand because of the possible questions that come from the teacher. And this also happens, and
Interesting. So
yeah.
they are, even if they did the coerced tasks as doing homework and so on,
Mhm.
they are still afraid just for the of not being able to answer the question, any follow up question.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And did you experience that yourself?
Some kind of those feelings I had, and especially in ninth class in high school, my first in the first year of high school, I learned German, and the second year of high school, it was my first year again, just doing normal schooling with German teachers, and for some reason, I was afraid of speaking in class. So my oral marks were very low that year.
See, someone is at the door. Sorry. So you said
I think
that your classmates were making fun of you because of your English pronunciation
in the middle school, yeah.
in middle school. So, um, do you understand this as a form of bullying?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they were meaning to be like be mean to me. I think it was just being a child. And
Being a child.
yeah, and also I was explaining some things about not wanting to participate in lessons in high school. Just like my friends who don't want to show their homework in class because of the deeper questions that may come. So I also didn't want to participate in lessons in ninth class, but I don't know the clear reason. I would say there was no actual reason for me to do that. It just happened, and I didn't enjoy it. So I just in the class and stayed silent until the end of the lesson. So this is yeah, this had some negative effects on my marks, but it was okay. So
So there were negative effects on your marks, but there were
yes,
still
because
enough a passing rate, right?
more than enough. Like
More than
my
enough.
my worst, yeah, my worst marks are usually better than some people's average. So it was still okay. It was
Okay,
yeah more
so
than enough.
keep in mind one thing is good grades in English, another thing is to learn English language and use it in real
Yeah, they
life.
are. Yeah, exactly. This was not in English. This was something in general. In high school,
Oh, in general.
Yeah, it was about about lessons in general. It wasn't different in biology or physics or maths. It was all the same, and especially in biology, because I didn't enjoy the lesson. I refused to participate. I refused to properly do my homeworks. I would just write some things before the class in the break. So this all was, yeah. I didn't enjoy biology. This was the reason, I think. But
Oh, so.
for English,
Hmm.
in the first year of high school, I started improving because the other not speaking in class thing was a thing of the past then, because it was from my middle school experience. But now I was in high school, so I just started talking again in the
Hmm.
English lessons, and with time, it got better.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
can tell now. Yeah. So how you ended up where you are now with your English proficiency? I'm guessing is not from the school.
This is actually with English school helped a lot, because when I switched to a German school,
Hmm.
how I had English lessons changed completely, because Germans have it different than we do in Turkey. You really learn, you really speak English in every class, and you really write English. So, and I was lucky. I had really good English teachers in high school. Like I really learned from them. And of course, I read a lot outside of class, and I also speak a lot outside of class. Um, but still, my English teachers helped a lot. Yeah,
Okay, so
and actually, just
hmm?
yeah, that's just a kind of fun fact. Um, I really love my current English teacher, and I was in our school. Because the parents don't speak German and teachers don't speak Turkish, there needs to be a student who translates for the parents and for the teacher. There's like a
Hmm.
middle person who does the translations. So I was the translator for my English teacher last year. So
Oh,
yeah,
you were translating for the sake of your
In-
teacher.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So I was with,
interesting.
and
So
it was a very fun experience. Yeah,
so the teachers are not required to understand English or to understand
to
Turkish.
Yeah, they are Germans. They usually understand English because of their school system. They learn
Hmm.
English, but Turkish, they don't know Turkish. They when they start to learn a bit when they come to Turkey, but
Hmm.
4 years, for example, is not enough to learn, because they come to Istanbul, they stay for 4 years, and then go back. So they learn a bit, but not to the point of fluency that they can
Hmm.
communicate with the parents about the grades of the students.
Okay. So going back for something you said is that you were doing you were learning outside of the classroom. Can you elaborate on
Yeah.
that? What were you learning? It's,
Um,
it was
in
not
general,
just English. Yeah, in general. So
was just
you mentioned you were
yeah,
doing English, but were you doing more stuff outside of the classroom?
like English was pretty much passive, because I wasn't sitting there studying English in that sense. I had a lot of exposure to the language,
Hmm.
just like German, but it was not like sitting and studying. With sitting and like you could also ask me, is sitting and studying only way to learn something? No, it isn't. And a lot of things you learn not by studying, but just by living and so on. But I also started learning programming when I was 12. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and so on. And I also learned Latin myself. I studied Italian. I read a lot about other topics on religion and so on philosophy. Yeah, there are different topics learn about, and it's there are lots of things I learn or read. Some things I'm interested in, and read and learn a lot about them. And some things I just learn a little bit and then think, okay, actually it's not that interesting, or the
Hmm.
information I now have is enough. Learning more doesn't really uh, make me more happy or happier. Like it doesn't make me happier, or I don't feel like the information I am getting now is useful. So when I
Okay.
don't need, when I don't feel naturally motivated, I also don't go deeper in those topics. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So let's say that you're following your planned drive, and in some topics you were fit enough. You were not that keen to keep reading on that,
Mhm.
for that matter. Okay.
Yeah,
And you mentioned philosophy.
yeah.
Is there such a subject in the school system?
In the school system, um, until high school, there is no such subject. But in high school, you get some kind of really basic and terrible 2 years of philosophy at school,
Two
and
years.
it's
Oh,
terrible, terrible.
why is
Uh,
terrible?
just because instead of instead of teaching you teaching you how to form arguments or how to discuss or how to think and like about logical fallacies,
Hmm.
say, okay, this philosopher has lived in this time, in this place, and yeah, some not detailed information about what he thought or said. So this is just useless information, doesn't make fun, and doesn't really. I didn't enjoy that. They just, yeah, it's no thinking involved, no forming opinions, no discussions. So is this that way really philosophy lessons, or like if we go to the root of the word uh, philosophia, the law of wisdom, the law of knowledge. So when we have a look at that word, do you, and it's like, if you love wisdom, if you love knowledge, does that mean you like learning about some ancient man? Like, if of course learning is good, and I do that, but just think about someone. You're someone in the philosophy lessons, and you're the teacher. This philosophy teacher introduces you to the topic, and you would say, "Oh my God, what is this? This is so boring." You could say that, but if someone were to ask you, "What do you think about that?" or like, "What is wrong about it?" or like, explain your ideas and so on, you would be happier and more interested in this kind of thing. So this is what I mean, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And
So
every
one recap question is that overall your experience that you're about to end, because I think in your country, in Turkey, the mandatory schooling it's from 6 years old to.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's quite long. So if you go back to being 6 year old, will you
Uh-huh.
do the same? Will you, so if you are yourself, you are your parent, will
Mm-hmm.
send you to the school system.
So this is again a hard question, and it is related to many aspects of life. Like, in an ideal world, I wouldn't do the things I did, like, because I would change something. School is sometimes not enjoyable, sometimes maybe more often than not, it's not enjoyable. um, I feel like I haven't learned much in this 12 years of education. Put me out in the world, and I don't have a skill that would earn me money, or that I could contribute to the world. So I haven't learned anything like that. I just learned random facts in physics and biology, and these facts, as I mentioned in this episode already, are so superficial that I wouldn't be able to use them. It's not applicable. It's just there, just like a superficial knowledge of something that you can't really use. So this is a problem with school. And in an ideal world, as I said, I wouldn't want to experience this again. But if we were living in,
One question is that is there a choice? in Turkey to not send your kids to the school. So it's legal, called unschooling or homeschooling. It is legal in Turkey.
I'm not sure about that, but you see a lot of campaigns about send your kids to school, send your kids to school, and a lot of people complain about um, some girls in the eastern part of the country,
Hmm.
yeah, eastern Turkey, not being sent to school by their parents, so they're kept home for some reason, some Middle East Middle Eastern ideas like keeping girl at home and so on. So as far as I know, they are fighting with this problem. But if you are in the western part of Turkey, you would probably go to school. And I can check that later. Maybe you could add to show notes if
Okay.
it's legal to not go to school. Yeah.
Then I'm guessing that you always lived at the western side of Turkey.
Like it's also comes down to your family. What I mean is there are
Hmm.
some southeastern part of Turkey is currently a bit chaotic, I would say. I don't want to speak about that because I'm not an expert on the topic, or nor
Hmm.
I have lived there. I just saw a few cities from there, and the culture is a bit different. People are a bit different, and the people on the streets are also a bit different. And you also know that that part of the world, which is near to the southeastern Turkey, is also a bit problematic with wars and so on.
Hmm.
So it's not that easy. But I lived far away from that part
Hmm.
of Turkey. I I lived in northern Turkey,
Hmm.
for example, in Black Sea region. I don't know if listeners know how Turkey looks, but Black Sea region is on the top of Turkey, on the
Hmm.
northern part. And then I'm now living in Istanbul, which is north and also west. So I'm far away from that places, but I'm not saying that the places are bad. The culture is a bit different there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So one outline is that in the school system, the culture plays a big role. So depending on the
Mhm.
geographic position you are in the same country, you may have substantial differences in the school
Yeah,
system. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
good to know.
And like in theory, it must be the same because they're all controlled by the government.
Hmm.
But like this is not only schools; it is the life in those parts. Like the life in Spain and life in Turkey is, for example, not the same.
Hmm.
And school in Spain and school in Turkey is not the same. And it's not only the language; it's about how people see, for example, schools, how people see some certain aspects of life, and people act according to that. So I think it's a general thing, not only about schools, but for example, the teachers in those areas are also different.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, you just raised one very interesting question. Is that overall
yeah.
in the Turkish culture, how a school is perceived?
In Turkey, school is perceived as something like um, something important. And you hear old people saying to young people, I regret not going to university. I regret dropping out at high school. I regret dropping out at middle school. Go to university, study for a long time, and you won't regret it in the future because you will have a better life. This is how people see it, and teachers are also highly regarded. Like they are. I think this is there's a paradox here
Hmm.
because we Turkish people claim that teachers are very important. They're one of the most important group of people in a country because they educate them,
Hmm.
educate the new generations. But at the same time, um, they teachers work for very little money. They don't earn much, and they also um, like people don't really care about them almost. I read some. I read on the internet, for example, that um, for example, in Finland, teachers are sent to some courses frequently to keep them up to date, and so on. But in Turkey, there are similar things, but the budget is not so high, so there are very not so great opportunities for teachers. So there is a paradox in Turkey. What people are doing and what people are saying doesn't really fit
Okay,
to one another.
I see.
Hmm.
So they perceive that the school is very important, yet the teachers
Yeah.
at the school are not perceived as that well. They don't have the same recognition.
Yeah. Yeah. Some kind of, yeah,
Okay,
that
so
kind of thing. Yeah.
I will call it the Turkish schooling paradox, to put a temporal name. Do you have anything to add? So going back to the topic in your middle school,
Uh-huh.
so in the Turkish system,
Yeah.
is that all of your classmates were acting more or less the same, in the sense that you said that at 12 you learn how to code,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you teach yourself Latin, and you were reading about religion,
Yeah.
and
These were in high school, but yeah.
in high school. Okay, but then I will focus only on programming at 12.
Okay.
The 12
Okay.
is middle school, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
So, any of your classmates were doing something similar to learning how to code?
I can tell for sure because I'm not them, but from the people I used to hang out with a lot, they weren't doing such kind of things, that kind of things. They were really just they weren't even maybe studying for a school or maybe just studying for a school.
Okay, so for now, we'll leave the conversation here. Uh, if it was for me, we will keeping the conversation for long hours and hours. I
Yeah.
hope for you, listener, this has been helpful, and we throw ideas that may inspire you. And if that's the case, please share this video, and if you want to comment, feel free. Just to remember that we open a Discord channel called Pleasurable Learning, so we can share and help other people about the schooling experience, how to discover self-learning, and this sort of thing. Thank you, Alp Kaan. With time, I will learn how to pronounce your name properly.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I'll give you the word to you.
Yeah, thanks for listening, or watching. I don't know where you are consuming this media right now, if
Yeah.
it's in audio format or video format. So, yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you found something relatable, at least that made you think, okay, I had a similar experience. I felt out in a similar way. So, yeah, as Yelam said, join our Discord server. I'm also in the server, so you can interact with us. And just to remind everyone that I'm no expert in any topic, so don't take what we're saying really serious, like too seriously. But they are our own experience. At least for me, it's my experience and nothing else. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you mean that we cannot generalize because your
Yeah.
experience is just only for you. It's not the same
Yeah.
for everyone
Yeah.
in Turkey, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We cannot generalize.
Okay. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode. See ya.